And then we are going to get started. So we're still in the middle of our anatomy of trust. And this week I decided to pick non-judgment as one of the focal points for us to work on. And this one I think is very interesting because I think we know that as a friend, we don't want to be judgmental of other people. Like we know that like to be a good friend, you shouldn't judge what your friends are doing. You should be like, maybe that's not what I would do, but you're choosing the best decision for you. And we try to be more understanding of the other person. But what I found most interesting, if we're thinking about trust and how we can trust ourselves, is how much we judge ourselves. How often do we look at something that we've done or not done, because that one causes a lot of things, look at who we are or who we're not, because there's another one that causes things, or look at what's going on or what is not going on and have some type of opinion about it. How often do we think, oh, you know what, this shouldn't be happening, or oh, so-and-so, you should have done something differently. And so it's been one of those things that I started to find very interesting of how can we reel back that little facet of ourselves. And the reason I'm thinking about this so clearly is there's this quote that Brene Brown references to Maya Angelou, which, you know, I've been struck with for like a couple months now at this point, and I haven't figured out how to turn it into anything. But basically, Angelou is said to have said, I don't trust people who say I love you, but don't love themselves. And yet when we're judging ourselves, it's an act of not being compassionate. It's an act of not being kind. It's an act of not being loving, you know? And so we want to start there so that every time we show up with another person or even with ourselves, we can be as kind and compassionate and as accepting of whatever is or isn't happening as possible. So to that end, I thought we'd do a few things anatomically to sort of let that thing set in our bodies. The first thing that we're going to work with is our thoracic region. So we're going to spend a lot of time doing really tiny things with the intention of hopefully building up strength and awareness within the thoracic, aka the heart region, where compassion is said to live. So to that end, we've got two things that we can start with. I will go ahead and show both of them, and you can choose whichever option feels most compassionate for you. So the first option, many of us are familiar with. It's just simply called lung bend. And you're going to place one block on the highest setting, one block on the second setting, and you'll bring your back to the floor. And for today in particular, when you come onto your back, I want you to make sure that the lowest ribs are supported. So you might need to actually move the lower block closer to your head so it feels like that's firmly supported. The second option would be to use a blanket roll instead. And the reason I asked you to have two is because you would also put one underneath your head so that you're not doing this big flailing thing. Because it often seems that when we're trying to be compassionate with ourselves, we don't need to go the other extreme and just like, I don't know, let everything flare. So we want to be a little bit more mindful. So if you're going to take that second option, you'll make a blanket roll. And for most of you, you would want to have an additional blanket here just flat at the top. I have a lot of mobility in my spine, so I don't need it, but for most of us, we would like that. So you're going to choose whichever option feels better to you, either laying over that blanket roll or propped up on both blocks. And those that are on the blanket roll, make sure your arms are above the blanket roll. And those of you that are on the blocks, make sure that you've got the ribs really supported by that block that's underneath them. And then the head is supported by that taller block. And then you can turn the palms to face up and let the arms open as wide to the right and to the left as possible. And then the legs can either be long, the knees can be bent, the soles of the feet can be touching each other, and the knees splayed open. You're going to choose whichever feels best for you in terms of the leg position and in terms of the arm position. Nice. And once we find ourselves established in this position, the first thing I'd like you to do is just notice the support beneath you. Notice the parts of the body that are really resting into the floor, that are resting into that block or that blanket. And then we're going to try something. So I want you to choose the breath pattern that's most curious for you, most interesting for you. And I'll give you two options. The first option is to breathe really fully into your belly And then let that ripple up into your ribs and ripple up towards the collarbones. And then you'll exhale from the collarbones down through the ribs, down through the navel. And that's the first option that you can take, just breathing from the abdomen through the ribs up into the collarbones, and then exhaling from the collarbones through the ribs, through the abdomen. The second choice, which might be interesting to you, would be to breathe into the collarbones first, into the ribs next, and then into the abdomen. And then, of course, you would exit from the abdomen, from the ribs, and from the collarbones. And so you'll pick whichever option seems most interesting to you. And whichever option you've taken, notice if there is a tendency to judge the experience, whether you're saying, oh my God, this part feels really tight, or is it just like, oh, look at that. And so we're going to spend the next few minutes here just being with the awareness of the sensation of the experience in this shape. And you'll notice what you notice. Can you take in a deeper inhalation? And can you let go of a deeper exhalation? And we've got about 3 more breath cycles here. And again, it's just an act of being curious. I think what enables us, or at least myself, to be less judgmental towards others is a sense of genuine curiosity. Like, oh my gosh, I wonder why they're doing that. I wonder what's up for them. Whereas, do we always take that sense of curiosity, wonder, intrigue with ourselves, or do we just judge it for not being a particular type of way? And as you're here at this last breath, I invite you to notice if you can extend out through the arms just a little bit more. And then maybe you might start to inhale and sweep the arms out to the right and to the left, and maybe up towards your head. And the arms might touch the floor, they might not, it doesn't really matter. You're just paying attention to what's curious for you. And then the arms might sweep down, back to the right and to the left, back towards your bum. Awesome sauce. Now from here, let's everyone bend your knees and plant your feet firmly on the floor. And then I want you to slide your feet a little further away from your butt than it currently is. Slide them away. Yep. And then start to draw your chin towards your chest. Reach your hands forward to grab the backs of your legs, and you'll slowly pull yourself up to sit. Chin to chest, slowly pull yourself up to sit. And then once you have come all the way to seated, go ahead and cross the ankles underneath the opposite knee. And if you need to sit on a blanket, by all means, sit on a blanket. And then we're going to place one hand on our heart and the other hand directly on top of that hand. And I want you to close your eyes. Now, as you gently pull down with your hands into your sternum, I want you to lift your sternum up into your hands and notice that you can make your whole spine longer. Take a big breath in here, and as you exhale, your chin starts to dip towards your chest, the back of your neck lengthens. And as you inhale, pull the hands down, lift the sternum up to start to take the gaze up. And you've got about 3 more of these. So you'll inhale and you'll exhale, coming into what's called flexion and extension of the spine. And really, if you pull down lightly with your hands in both directions, as you push your sternum into your hands, you'll feel that it just ignites a little bit of different sensation around the neck region. Awesome sauce. The next time your chin is coming towards your chest, you'll go ahead and stay there. Press your hands lightly into your sternum, lift your sternum into your hands so your spine stays tall. And then exhale, turn your chin towards your right shoulder. Inhale, you'll come through center, and exhale, you'll turn your chin towards your left shoulder. And then you'll slowly start to bring your head more along the horizon. So then now your nose goes over your right shoulder, and then you'll inhale through center, and then you'll exhale and you'll turn towards your left shoulder. And still you're pushing your hands lightly into your sternum. You're lifting your sternum up into your hands. Awesome. And you'll do that a few more times. So this last time here, we'll go back to the right, inhaling, pulling hands into sternum, lifting sternum into hands. And then going over towards the left, Awesome sauce. The next time you go over to the right, pause. Now I want you to pull down with your hands, lift up with your sternum. Notice how far just your head goes. And now I want you to rotate your left ribs towards the right knee and see if you can get a little bit more twist towards the right. Inhale, lift up through the spine. Exhale, maybe twist a little bit more towards the right. Nice job. And then inhale, come back through center and feel how the spine unwinds as you come back through center. And then we'll try that to the other side. So exhale, take your gaze to the left, just the head. Inhale, find length through the vertebra. And then exhale, rotate just your right rib towards that left knee, left rib pulls back. Inhale, push the hands into the sternum, lift up through the spine. And exhale, see if you can rotate a little bit more towards your left. Nice job. We're going to add on. Inhale, come back through center, feeling the spine unwind. And then exhale, take your gaze over the right shoulder. Inhale, lengthen up. Exhale, take your right ribs back, your left ribs forward, start to turn more towards the right. Inhale, lengthen up. As you exhale, see if you can release your right hand behind you, palm faces away. Maybe it touches the floor, maybe it doesn't. Inhale, push your sternum into your spine, lift up. As you exhale, release that left hand to your right knee. And then you can find one more inhale to lengthen here, and then exhale, pull lightly with that left hand, push with that right hand if it's on the floor, and see if you can rotate a little bit more to the right. Nice job. To gently come out of this, you'll first bring your right hand back to your chest. Then you'll bring your left hand to your right hand. You'll inhale here and then unwind. And then you'll just notice how that sequential action's going. And then we'll try that to the other side. So inhale, find the length. And then exhale, take your gaze over your left shoulder. Inhale, find the length, pushing sternum into hands. And then exhale, drawing your right ribs forward, your left ribs back, keeping weight in that right hip. Inhale here. Exhale, release the left hand either to the floor behind you or to your right hip. Inhale, lengthen through the spine. And then exhale, release that right hand to the left thigh. And then again, finding length with the inhale. And then exhale, you might pull with that right hand, push with the left if the hand is on the floor. And then very gently, we'll return the left hand to the heart. You'll return the right hand to the left hand, and you'll inhale, come back through center. Go ahead and just lower the hands here and just take a moment to notice what you notice in the breath. Notice what you notice in the spine. So we're going to work with that action in a lot of poses, which is why we spent a lot of time on that. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and inhale and start to reach the arms out and up and overhead. And then exhale, cactusing the elbows, bringing the fingertips back down to the floor. And you've got 3 more of these. And you can let the breath be as long as it wishes to be. Inhaling, sweeping the arms up like you're gathering leaves. And then exhaling, maybe the leaves are just showering over you as you draw the shoulder blades onto the back. Awesome, and you just got 2 more on your own. You're just noticing what this feels like. Seeing if you can elongate your breath. And this will be our last one. And when you inhale this time, you can hold the breath at the top. You might interlace the hands at the top, or you might inchworm one arm and then the other up and overhead. But you're seeing if you can find space in the ribs. Awesome sauce. As you're ready, you'll exhale, open the arms out, have them come back down to the floor. Last little micro movement before we move on. Let's go ahead and inhale, sweep your left arm up and over your head. Now, as you exhale, little baby side bend to the right. And inhale, come back up. And then exhale again, but this time you might deepen it more towards the right. And you've got 4 of these. And you'll inhale and come up. And exhale a little deeper towards the right. And inhale, come up. And this last time, as you go over to the right, we're going to pause here. I want you to pay attention to what's happening between your left armpit and your left low rib. See if you can almost push those ribs all the way to the left to lengthen and find space in the intercostals. And then as you're ready, you'll inhale, reach that left arm out, come up, lower that left hand down, and we'll try that on the other side. So inhale, sweep your right arm up, little baby side bend to the left. And then inhale, come out of it just a little bit more. And exhale to deepen it to the left. Now you'll just do 3 more on your own. And you want to make sure that as you're doing these, the front ribs are still drawing back. So we're not being overly ambitious in terms of like, oh, I'm going to do all these crazy things. We want to keep our front ribs reined in. Sometimes one of the most non-judgmental things that we can do is just being like, all right, these are my limits. These are my boundaries. The next time or the 4th time that you're in that side bend, you'll just stay there for a couple breaths. And again, you're finding space from your right armpit to your right lowest ribs, and you're sending those ribs over there to find space between the intercostal muscles, the muscles between each rib. Awesome sauce. On your next in-breath, start to sweep that right arm out and bring yourself up. Awesome sauce. Lower the hand down, and then let's come forward onto hands and knees. Now, as we make our way to hands and knees, I do encourage you to make sure your blocks are towards the upper outer corners of your space. I also encourage you to place a blanket to the right or to the left, wherever it's easily accessible for you. Some of you might also choose to pad your knees with a blanket if your knees happen to be sensitive. Awesome sauce. And the first thing that we're going to do once we get on hands and knees is make sure your knees are underneath your hips, your shoulders are underneath your ribs. I want you to take some shoulder circles here. So you'll let your heart melt to the floor, you'll draw your shoulders to your ears, and then you'll slide your shoulders back towards your pelvis and start to press the hands into the floor to wrap the shoulders on the back. And you'll do about 3 of these one direction, just finding all the little cricketies and crackities or the crackles and the pops that are happening in the shoulders as you're doing this. Awesome. And then after you've taken 3 one direction, reverse that direction and see what that feels like. And again, we're just being curious. We're like, oh, wow, body, look what you're doing today. And so today we're going to play with quite a few random movements just to make sure that we can get into our thoracic spine to get into our peak pose, and we'll see how that goes. Awesome. And then once you're set here, let's go ahead and walk knees, ankles, and shins together. Tuck both sets of toes under and start to walk your bum back towards your heels, and then start to bring your spine up to vertical for toe squat. Now, once you find yourself here, make sure pinky toes haven't escaped, and we'll just lift our left arm up, bend our left elbow, grab our left elbow with our right hand. And especially those of us with our psoas, we want to make sure that our ribs aren't splaying and we're pulling them in and back and lengthening the tailbone down as you pull your arms straight back. And you just got about 3 or 4 breath cycles on this side. And after you've taken your 3 or 4 breaths, you'll go ahead and switch sides. Awesome sauce. Go ahead and reach up through the right arm, reach up through the left, and then you'll switch sides, bending the right elbow. And again, we're just drawing those front ribs back. You're lengthening your tailbone down. You're pressing your skull straight back. And you're just seeing how that's going. Awesome sauce. After you've taken 4 breath cycles here, you'll gently release out of the shape, both arms up and then out. Come forward, pitter patter your feet, having a happy little temper tantrum if you'd like. And conversely, you might shift your weight back and stretch the fronts of your ankles if knees, shins, and ankles permit this. And again, we're just staying curious. How is the breath? How's the body? How are you noticing all of this? All right. Okay. Now, our next thing is going to be really micro. I'm sorry, but you'll be welcome in the end. Okay, so we're going to come back to hands and knees. That hand is going to come back to our heart. You guys can watch this for a moment, just if you'd like. And what we're focusing on with this is we want to make sure that we're paying attention to what's happening to this shoulder blade. So you're going to push the arm down so that the shoulder blade is wrapped wide on the back, and you're just going to see if you can dip the other elbow towards that shoulder. And so we're trying to wrap our ribs around that arm. And we're going to add on to that in a few ways, but that'll be the first one. So let's go ahead and start there, hands and knees. Okay, and we'll all start by bringing our left hand to our heart. Now, first things first, push down into your right hand a lot. Push your sternum into that left hand and see if you can send your butt back and your crown forward to make your spine as long as possible. Yeah, there you go. Take a big breath in here, pushing into that right hand even more. And as you exhale, see if you could draw that left elbow towards your right elbow. So keep pressing that right shoulder onto the back so you don't dip in, and then you'll inhale and come up. And you've got 4 of these. So that right shoulder stays lifted the whole time. So Jenny, keep pushing down and don't let your chest sink towards the floor. Yeah. So the chest, it might not be very big. We don't want the chest to sink. You're just trying to wrap underneath while pushing that right hand into the floor like crazy. There you go, Erica. Yeah, there you go, Barbara. Awesome. After you've done 3 or 4, you'll release that left hand down, and we'll go ahead and try it on the other side. So the reason for this is in order to engage our thoracic spine the best, we want to strengthen it. So let's push down into that left hand to right heart. Push your sternum into your hand into your sternum, your butt back, your crown forward. Keep pressing into that left hand a lot. As you exhale, see if you can wrap your right elbow towards your left elbow. And it's not going to go very far. Like, we don't have a lot of rotation here because our shoulders get hunched in because we're sitting so much. So you might find that you're like, wow, this is a really tiny movement. Yes, it is. Yes, 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 it is. And you want to make sure you're still pushing down into that index and thumb on that left hand. Yep. Okay, after you've done about 4 on this side, go ahead and release that right hand down. Notice what you notice. And then we're going to try that. Well, we're going to add on. So this time, keep your right hand on the floor, draw your left hand to your heart. Again, send your sternum forward, your crown forward, your butt back. Push down into that right hand a lot like you're trying to lift a 10-ton truck. There you go, Jenny. And then as you're ready, you're going to turn your gaze to the left and start to open your ribs to the left and see how much you can open towards the left. And then you'll exhale back to center, and you've got 4 of those. And so you want to keep that right shoulder blade on the rib cage the whole time. You're seeing how that moves here. Yeah, nice, Roberta. Nice, Barbara. And so we're just seeing what the tiny little movement looks like. Keep pushing into that right hand, Sandy. Yeah. Awesome. And after you've done 4, you'll release that, and we'll try that on the other side. Nice, Julie. Nice, Jason. Okay. And then again, as you go to the other side, you're pushing down into that left hand. The right hand is in the sternum. You reach the crown forward, you lengthen the tailbone back. And then as you inhale, you start to rotate the head to the right, the ribs to the right. And as you exhale, you come back to center. And we're paying particular attention to what's happening on the left shoulder blade region. How much activation can you have pushing down into that left hand as you rotate to the right? And you're noticing that a lot of times we're trying to get the rotation to happen in our rib cage. Our rib cage is supposed to be one of the most mobile parts for rotation, but due to our sedentary life, it doesn't always happen. So we're trying to strengthen that before I have you deepen it. Awesome sauce. And after you've done 4, you'll come back to center and you'll pause. And then we'll add on. Okay, so this one, I want you to pause and watch for a moment. It's just so we're all on the same page. So again, you're going to bring one hand to the heart. We want to push down and keep this lifted. You'll inhale and rotate as far as you can. You'll exhale and see if you can dip that shoulder down. Oh my gosh. And then you're going to inhale and come back up. So it's basically a 1-arm push-up with a rotation. Let's see how it goes. The 4th one in, when you're down, you're going to stay in that position with the left shoulder on the floor, the right hand on the floor, okay? So we'll see how this goes. So let's bring our left hand to our heart. First, push the sternum into the hand, reach your crown forward and your butt back, and then inhale, start to rotate to the left, push down into the right hand to open towards the left, and then exhale, see if you can dip that left shoulder to touch the floor near your right thumb. And then you'll inhale, push through that hand and come back opening to the left. Yeah. Awesome sauce. And it doesn't have to be big to be impactful. It does not need to be big to be impactful. Nice job, Barbara. And after you've done 4 and that left shoulder is back towards the floor, you're gonna stay there. So after you've done 4, left shoulder comes to the floor and you'll stay there. And I want you to notice if you need to draw your chin towards your chest just a little bit. Keep pulling your hand into your sternum into your hand, push that right hand down, and then notice where the sensation is on the back of your left shoulder. See if you can pause and breathe, and everybody draw your right hip back and away. So just like we did in those seated twists, the hip doesn't need to come with it. See if you can draw that right hip straight back. So the rotation, there you go, Roberta, is happening more in the thoracic spine. Yeah. When you're ready, you'll inhale, push down through that right hand a lot, come back to the rotation, and then release that left hand down. Pause for a moment between the sides. Notice if you notice anything between the sides. And then we'll try that on the other side. So push down into left hand, right hand comes to heart. Push your heart into your hand into your heart, your butt back, your crown forward. Inhale, start to rotate towards the right, and it might not be big. And then exhale, you'll take a dip, right shoulder towards the left thumb. Yep, and then inhale, you'll come back up. And you've got 4 of these. And so we're isolating the rotation in the spine. We're working that one arm, doing a one-handed push-up. So good job to all of you. And we're seeing how that goes. So after you've done 4, and that right shoulder will be on the floor, you'll go ahead and pause there. And again, with the right shoulder on the floor, right hand pushes into sternum, sternum pushes into hand, chin draws into chest, push down into left hand, and notice what's happening in the back of the right shoulder. And then everyone see if you can draw your left outer hip back and away from your left shoulder so the hip doesn't have to get into the twist. Yeah, better on this side, guys, all across the board. Awesome. And then as you're ready, you'll inhale, push down through that left hand, come back up. And then exhale, release the hand down. Awesome sauce. Now I want everyone to walk your hands forward about half a hand print. This is going to be a surprise for most of you, I know. Tuck your toes under, push your hips up and back to downward facing dog, keeping the inner armpits lifted, and just notice what you notice when you get there. The knees are as bent as they need to be. The inner armpits lift up and back, the hands push down and away, and then see if you can lift your ribs away from your head and then lift your hips away from your ribs. Awesome sauce. And we want to notice what's happening in the shoulder girdle now. How does it feel in comparison to what you normally notice in down dog? And it's okay either way. Awesome sauce. All right, let's add on. Inhale, sweep your right leg up and back. Keep your hips square. Notice the stability in your shoulders and your hands. As you exhale, step that right foot quietly between your hands. Long, low lunge. Long, low lunge, long, low lunge. Awesome. At this point, some of you might need to bring a block underneath one or both of your hands. If you're only doing one, put it under your left hand. From here, push down into your right foot, lift up through your inner left thigh, make your spine as long as possible, and then bring that right hand back to your right chest. Well, your only chest. Bring the right hand to your chest. Awesome. Now I want you to push down into that left hand a lot until you feel your left armpit float up and the left shoulder blade wrap on the back. Now as you exhale, start to take your gaze towards the right. Now start to pull your right ribs back, your left ribs forward, push into that left hand even more. Draw that outer right hip back even more. So this is the same thing that you were just doing half a second ago. Great. Some of you will stay here and just find more length with the inhale, and then exhale, rotate the right ribs more back, the left ribs more forward. Some of you will reach that right arm up. Some of you will stay right here, happy as a clam. Some of you will lower that back knee down to the floor, reach around and grab the outside edge of that back foot. If you've chosen to do that latter option, you're still pushing down through your left arm a lot. So push down through that left hand a lot until you feel your left inner armpit lift and that shoulder blade wrap on the back. And then again, the gaze goes to the right. The ribs go towards the right. Yeah, there you go, Barbara. And that chin is coming towards the sternum. The sternum is reaching ever so more towards that chin. Yeah, nice job, guys. Very gently, if you're holding the back leg, you'll release it. You'll frame the front foot with both hands. Tuck the back toes under. If they're not, straighten both legs long. Straighten both legs long. And as best as you can, draw that right outer hip back a lot. Some of you will peel the sole of the right foot up and away from the floor. Heart and sternum reaches forward. Right leg as straight as it can be. Left leg as straight as it can be. And you're just noticing what you notice. How can we find the ability to let ourselves, give ourselves permission? It's just be curious. All of life is said to be just one experience. How can we just let ourselves go along for the ride to some extent, at least without judgment? Next in breath, let's go ahead and shift our weight forward. Plant your hands on the floor, low lunge, and then step back, downward facing dog, pause, and just observe what you notice between the right side and what you notice on the left side. Keep lifting those inner armpits up and back. Yep, drawing the front ribs back and pushing the shoulders into the hands into the floor. Let's try the other side. Inhale, sweep your left leg up and back. Keep the stability in the shoulders. Nice job, guys. And then exhale, quietly step that foot forward and through for a long, long low lunge. Nice. And then once you find yourself here, hands might come to blocks or not, but I want you to have a really long stance. And then you're going to push into your front foot. You're going to reach back through your back heel and then lengthen your crown away from your tail. Draw your left hand to your sternum, to your heart. And then again, inhale, find length. Sternum presses forward, crown presses forward, tailbone pushes back. Exhale, gaze starts to go to the left. Push down into your right hand a lot until you feel that right armpit lift up. Draw the left ribs back even more, the right ribs forward towards that inner left thigh. Take another inhale to find more length through the spine. And then exhale, rotate a little bit more to the left. You might stay here. You might extend that top arm up. And if it does, we're still rotating through the ribs. You might then bend the back knee and lower it to the floor. You might also choose to grab the outside edge of that right foot. Wherever you are, we're still pushing through that right hand. That's what's most important. You're pushing through the right hand so the right armpit lifts up. And then you're rotating the right ribs to the inner left thigh, the left ribs back, and then the gaze goes back. Nice job, guys. If you're holding that back leg, gently release the back foot. Come to frame the front foot, straighten or tuck the back toes under and straighten both legs long. And you might choose to stay here, both legs strong, kneecaps pulling up. You might peel the sole of that left foot up and back, but we're all continuing to draw that outer left hip back, the inner right thigh up towards the sky. And again, your sternum is reaching towards your head. So the spine, the front body is as long as it, yeah, there you go, Barbara, as long as it can be. Awesome sauce. Next in breath, shift your weight forward, low lunge. As you exhale, press back to a downward facing dog. Awesome sauce. Let's come forward to plank pose. You can choose to stay here in plank or lower your knees to the mat. It's totally up to you, but I want you to do a few serratus push-ups. So you're going to push down into the hands until you feel your scapula widen on the back like a little cat pose. And then you'll allow the heart to melt. Awesome sauce. Great. And after you've done about three or four of those, let's go back to downward facing dog and pause. Downward facing dog and pause, and you'll just notice what that feels like. Okay. Let's go ahead and add on. Inhale, sweep your right leg up and back. Keep the stability in the shoulder girdle. As you exhale, round through the spine, draw your knee towards your nose. Push the floor away more, round through the upper back, and then slowly put that foot on the floor. Awesome. Now, hands come to blocks for most of us. Spin your back foot down to the floor. Bring that left block to the inside edge of your right foot so it's touching. Bring your right hand to the inside edge of your right foot so it's on that block. Awesome. So let's spin our feet down for a warrior two shape and bring that left hand back to our heart as we started. Left hand to our heart. So we want to make sure our legs are really long and wide, otherwise this is going to be really difficult. And so you're going to bend into that front knee as best as you can. Reach your crown forward, reach your butt back, push into that right hand until your right armpit floats up, and then you'll inhale, just take your gaze over your top shoulder to the sky, and exhale, take your gaze to the floor. You got about 3 or 4 of these. So right hand stays on the block, Sandy. Yep. And so we're just sort of rotating in this extended side angle, and you're seeing how much of this can happen through the head. And after you've taken 4 of these and your gaze is up towards the sky, I want you to stay there. Awesome sauce. So we're all going to stay there now. Push into your right hand even more. Push into your back foot even more. And see if you can wrap your right ribs forward, your left ribs. There you go, Barbara. Back. Nice work. Next in breath, start to reach back through your left hand and come up to warrior two. See if the legs can stay as long as they are. Nice job. Awesome sauce. Okay, now we're going to do this next one mostly because I'm excited to see Hamilton in about a month. So that's what we're going to do. But you're going to lower your left hand to the back thigh. You're going to reach up through your right arm. Now, just like we did at the very beginning, you're going to take those micro side bends. So you'll inhale with the right hand up and then exhale, little side bend towards the left. And then you'll inhale, come out of it slightly, and you'll exhale, side bend. And again, as you do these, your right ribs are pushing to the front towards your right knee. You're trying to find space in those intercostal muscles. And after you've done 4, you'll go ahead and stay in that side bend, reverse warrior, viparita virabhadrasana. And as you stay there and breathe, think of almost pushing your right ribs towards the front knee, and you're finding more space and more length along that side body. Next, inhale, come back to warrior two and pause. Notice what you notice between your right ribs and your left ribs. Inhale, straighten your front leg long. As you exhale, reach forward, out and down, bringing that right hand to the shin block or floor on the inside edge of your right foot. Awesome sauce. Bring that left hand back to our heart. So we're going to stay with this for a while. Now I want you to first find stability in your legs. So push down into that left pinky toe like a lot. Push down into the right big toe mound a lot. And then see if you can send your butt back behind you, drawing that right hip back. Now inhale, push your sternum into that left hand pulls into the sternum. And then again, just as we did before, you exhale and take your gaze to the floor, and then you inhale and take your gaze up. And what we're really focusing on here is just rotating along the axis. A lot of times when I talk about triangle, the head can do some wonky things. So you're just rotating along the axis of your head. Well, spine technically. So it's just the head rotating up and then down. And then you'll come to center after you've done about 4 times. Let's again re-establish the leg. So push into the back pinky toe, press down into the front big toe. Push down into your right hand a lot until your right armpit lifts a lot. Yep, and then just like we did on hands and knees, see if you can draw that left shoulder towards your right elbow. It's not going to go very much, and then you'll inhale and come back up. And we're just noticing what that feels like. And you got about 4 of those. Keeping that left shoulder away from the left ear so it doesn't creep up. It still draws down the back. There you go, Jenny. As you're rotating in. Nice, Jason. Nice, Sandy. Nice, Julie. Awesome. The next time, that looks good, Roberta. The next time you're more into that neutral position, you're going to pause. Push down into your right hand even more. Pull your left hand into your sternum into your hand, and then see if you can start to take your gaze towards the top shoulder. Push down into the right hand even more and see if you can draw your right ribs towards the left. Nice, Erica. And then you might float your left hand up. And notice here how the sternum is still drawing towards your chin, but it feels like you're leaning back. Your heart is so freaking open that it feels like you're leaning back. Nice job, guys. As you're ready, turn your gaze to the floor, lower that left hand to the floor, step back to downward facing dog and pause. Just notice what you notice. How is the right side? How is the left side? We spend a lot of time on triangle with that front leg, that right leg, and you're just noticing what you notice. How is the spine here? Awesome sauce. And then we'll go ahead and do one more thing. Come forward into plank. Hold here in plank. I want you to push the hands down a lot until you feel, there you go, Sandy, the inner armpits lift up and away from the floor. Now draw your shoulders away from your ears. Great. Lift your hips up and back, downward facing dog. Nice work, guys. Okay. Let's try the other side. Inhale, sweep your left leg up and back. Keep lifting through those inner armpits. And then as you exhale, left knee to nose and pause. Push the floor away until your upper back rounds even more. There you go, Eric. And then lightly step that foot between your hands. Nice, Jenny. Now from here, hands come to blocks. Spin that back foot to the floor. Bring that right block to the inside edge of your left foot. Bring the left hand to the left or the right block. Bring your right hand to your right hip. And everyone keep bending into that front knee and draw that outer left hip back. And then you'll bring your sternum into your hand into your sternum. You'll find length through your side body. And then as you did before, you'll turn the gaze up as you breathe in. And you'll exhale and turn the gaze down. And so again, we're just trying to rotate on our head. The only thing that's moving here is just your head. So no rib cage moving just yet, just your head. So we can see that our head can do something. Just the head, the sternum pushes into the hand pulls into the sternum. And after you've done 4, you can go ahead and pause there in this modified extended side angle, uthitta parshvanasana. And then see if you can pull those left ribs under even more, bending into that left knee, wrapping the right ribs on top. Reach your right hand back and bring yourself up to Virabhadrasana 2, Warrior 2. Awesome. And then you want to make sure your stance is still pretty long, your legs feel stable, you feel grounded. Lower the right hand to the top of the right thigh. Inhale, sweep your left arm up. And then exhale, little Hamilton side bends and really tiny ones. And you're just doing this 4 times. And you'll notice that as you do this, one side might feel different than the other. Sometimes I notice that on one side more than the other, I really have to rein in my front ribs. And it almost feels like I have to twist a little bit more in the low ribs in order to make it more of a true side bend versus a back bend. So you just notice what's happening for you. And after you've done 4 of the tiny little ones, then you'll go ahead and hold into the position. And again, you want to think of sending your left ribs forward and finding space in those intercostal muscles so that they can lengthen the space between your ribs. Awesome sauce, people. Next in breath, let's come up to Virabhadrasana 2. Take a moment to pause and just notice what you notice between the right ribs and the left ribs. As you inhale, straighten that front leg, pressing into the floor, pulling both kneecaps up, and then reach forward, out and down with that left hand, bringing left fingertips to shin, block, or floor. And we want to make sure we're on the inside of that front leg. And then right hand comes back to heart. And just as we did before, push into your back pinky toe, your right foot a lot, press into your left big toe a lot, draw that outer left hip away from the left shoulder. And then you'll start just with the head going up as you inhale and then turning down as you exhale. And as best as you can, you want to make this as smooth as possible. So notice if there's any jerkiness happening in the neck, or if there's spots where the neck was like, oh, I don't like that place. I'm going to skip over that. So you're just seeing how that feels. And you're doing about 4 of these. And the legs are working a lot. You're working a lot. Awesome sauce. After you've done 4, you're going to come to a stable, neutral spine. And then push down into that left hand even more until the left armpits lift up. And then see if you can then wrap the right shoulder towards the left elbow. And again, this is now rotating through the ribs. And as you do this, you want to make sure that both shoulders still inchworm away from that crown. So we're not trying to hike up the shoulders, we're just wrapping in. Yep. And we're noticing this movement. Yeah. And after you've done 4, we'll go ahead and turn our gaze back towards the sky. Push into the left hand a lot, find more length through that inner left armpit, and then see if you can wrap your left rib cage under, your right rib cage up. You might lift the right hand up. And again, you're pushing down into both legs a lot. You're pushing down into that left arm so that the left armpit reaches up, and you're rotating through the ribs, and it feels like a really nice open bird expansive shape. Nice job, guys. Next in breath, gaze comes to the floor, come to a low lunge as you exhale and press back to downward facing dog. Hooray. All right. Cool. Let's go ahead and inhale and come forward into plank fallen kasana. Now push the hands down so much that the inner armpits lift up. Start to shift your weight forward, and slower than you want to, lower your chest, your thighs, and your heart. Well, that is your chest, all to touch at the same rate. Head stays lifted, slower than you want to, lower down in one piece. Yeah. Okay. If there's something under your pelvis and you don't like it there, or under your knees, go ahead and move it. If you do like it there, keep it there. It's totally up to you. Now, let's separate our feet hip distance apart. Press the tops of your toenails into the floor. Lift up through those kneecaps and lengthen your tailbones back. Now, everyone slide your hands back towards your hips just a millimeter, so it's almost imperceptible, not a lot. And then I want you to spread wide through your 10 fingers, push down into the hands until you feel your shoulder blades start to come online. Now draw the shoulder blades onto your back body. This is going to be super weird. I don't want you to come up super high. What I want you to think about instead is a hand being on your sternum and a hand being on your tailbone and pulling those 2 points away. So you come up as high as you can, keeping as much belly on the floor, but your sternum presses forward, your tailbone lengthens back, your toes lengthen back. And then you might notice then that if you push down into the hands even more, you feel the shoulder blades come onto your back body. Yep, and it sort of thrusts your chest forward even more. So we're trying to find that upper thoracic extension. We don't have a lot of this here, so we're working really focused on that. Awesome sauce. And then you'll gently lower all the way down. And if we did all the things I hoped we had done, that probably felt like a lot of work. So just bring an ear to the mat and take a moment to rest. And I want you to just notice what's happening in that thoracic region. Notice what's happening around the shoulder blades, around the heart. Notice any judgments that might be up. And some of you will repeat what we just did. Some of you will bend your right knee, reach around and grab your right foot, and just take a little quad stretch with one or both hands. You might flex that right foot. You might point that right foot. You might keep the pelvic or the thigh bone on the floor. You might lift it away. You're doing whatever feels good to you. And then you'll switch sides when you're ready. I think it's really funny when teachers say when you're ready and then they don't give enough time for people to actually take as much time as they want to. I was taking a class this week and I was like, but I'm still here. Like, I want to hang out. Okay, when you're ready, you'll release that. Okay, so option is to repeat what we did before with that really low detailed cobra. Second option is to take dhanurasana, but we're going to use the same action. So you choose whichever option works best for you. And again, more is not better. We're working on really being okay with where we are as we are. So those that want to take that cobra option, again, plant your hands alongside your lowest ribs. Those that want to take dhanurasana, you'll bend both knees and reach around and grab the outside edges of both feet. Now, all of us are going to do essentially the same thing. So head stay on the floor for a moment. You're going to activate your tailbone back a lot. People with the feet on the floor, press the legs down. People that are holding on to your feet, start to curl your toes around your arms. Everyone, I want you to notice what happens if you draw the shoulder blades away from your ears and onto your back body. And then again, we're reaching our sternum and our tailbone away from each other. You can come up as high as you want, but we're focusing on the shoulder blades onto the back body, the sternum coming forward, the belly staying pretty much on the floor, the tailbone reaching back. And then after you've done as much as you want to do, you'll gently release down. Because we're focusing on really that upper thoracic spine, upper thoracic spine. Awesome sauce. And you'll just take 3 to 5 breaths resting here. Maybe hands come underneath your forehead like heads up, 7 up. Maybe a shoulder and ear comes to the floor. But you're just pausing and you're breathing. And as you're here, I'm going to throw in a question. What would life look like if you were a little bit kinder to yourself and didn't judge where you were or where you weren't in life? What would your relationships look like if you didn't judge necessarily how they looked or how they didn't look? What would your career look like if you didn't judge what it looked like or didn't look like? All right, if you had one ear to the mat, bring the other one to the mat, please, and take 3 more breaths. Okay, moving along. Let's go ahead and come up to forearms. We're going to come to Sphinx pose. Roberta, this is kind of for you because you wanted some core work. You can either keep your hands parallel to each other like number 11s, or you can bring your palms to touch. If the palms are touching, we want that whole pinky edge knife side pressing down into the floor. And then I want you to push down into your forearms or outside edges of your forearms a lot. Draw your chin towards your sternum, round through your back, and see how much of your belly you can pick up away from the floor. Press the forearms down, round into the upper back even more, and then maybe you might pick up even more of your pelvis. And then you'll inhale and come to what it looks like, kind of a cow shape. And you've got about 4 of these. So we're just engaging the core, rounding in, seeing if you can wrap those shoulder blades wide on your back as you do. Yep, and you've got about 3 more. And as you continue these, some of you might find that you want to start to lift the thighs away from the floor. But wherever you are, we are pushing down into those forearms a lot. We're wrapping those shoulder blades wide on the back. We're finding that protraction, retraction. So Sandy, keep the tops of the feet on the floor if you do that. It makes it harder. And then lift the legs. And then this last one, you're going to go ahead and stay there. And so you're pushing the floor away a lot. You're drawing your chin towards your chest, the shoulders wrap on the back, and see if you can find more of a Halloween cat position happening in your back. Scoop the tailbone back, round the upper back even more. So Jason, sternum to chest, and see if you can round in like a Halloween cat even more. Look towards your belly button, see if you can look towards your pubic bone and push the floor away even more, wrapping in the upper back. Yep. And then gently, you'll lower the spine back down and you'll come back down to the floor. Did we get core? Did we not get core? I got a heads up. Okay, good job. All right, and you're just gonna rest here for a few breaths before we go on. Okay, let's go ahead and come up to hands and knees. Bring your forearms to the floor, prayer position. And we want to make sure as we come down that your elbows are slightly inside of your shoulders. Elbows slightly inside of your shoulders. And then you can push down, widen your skin onto the mat so they get stuck. Where the skin gets stuck, tuck your chin to your chest, round through your spine a lot like angry Halloween cats or happy Halloween cats. They're not angry. Tuck your toes under and then start to walk your butt towards your, or rather your feet towards your face. So the more you can push down through those forearms, our heads are off the floor. We're pushing in, yep, lifting up through those serratus, and you can stay here in dolphin as long as you'd like. Lift up through those happy inner armpits. Walk the feet in as close as you want to, knees as straight as they wish to be. And after you've taken about 3 to 5 breaths there, You'll go ahead and lower and sit for Vajrasana, thunderbolt pose. Okay. And when we sit down, we're going to sit on a block. So we're sitting on our shin. Sorry, that was clear as mud, Roberta. You're like, what is that? So we're going to sit on a block, and it's on its widest setting. If you need multiple blocks, you put 2 blocks there. And if your knees are sensitive, you've got a blanket, you can slide that underneath. Okay. Now, as best as we can, I have really long arms, so this might just be something that I'm really freakishly able to do. But if you can, your fingertips touch the floor, your fingertips are pointing forward, your thumbs are next to your toes. So the hands are on the floor as best as they can be. If that doesn't help you sit up straight, then don't do that. You can keep your hands on your thighs instead. But I want you to draw your shoulder blades onto your back, like we're a flapper girl on the back of a truck, and see if you can squeeze your shoulder blades onto the back, and notice what that does in the rib cage. And then hug the outer elbows towards one another. And then see if you can lift up through the happy inner armpits. Like for some reason, I've got my thumbs in your armpits or suspenders and I'm pulling them up. And again, we're still imagining a hand is on our heart. We're pushing into that hand. Awesome. Some of you will stay right here, happy as a clam. Some of you will start to press your big toe mounds into that block, your pinky toe mounds into the floor. You'll start to push your hands down into the floor, scoop your tailbone forward towards your knees, draw your chin towards your sternum, reach your thigh bones forward, your hips forward, and you'll come up into an Ustrasana. Your sternum is still reaching towards your chin is still reaching towards your sternum, so we're not taking our gaze to the ceiling. We're still looking more towards our chest. Awesome sauce. And then you'll gently lower your butt back down to the floor, and you'll sit as tall as you can. You'll take a moment to close your eyes and breathe. Close your eyes and breathe. And you'll just notice how that feels. Okay. Gently open your eyes and give me a quick thumbs up about how we're feeling about our hamstrings. I had 2 more things I'd wanted to plan, or I had planned, and I'm just curious about how our hamstrings are feeling. Thumbs up if they're okay. They're not so much. Okay, I got some thumbs up. All right, so what we're going to do from Vajrasana is I want you to see if you can bring your left foot in front of you. And you can stay here with your hands on the front of your left shin, the heart reaching forward, the shoulder blade sliding down the back. You can happily stay here, happy as a clam. Some of you will lift that left leg up and away from the floor and continue to push your sternum forward and draw the back of the shoulder blades onto the back. Some of you will slip your hands behind the back of that left leg and hang out here, maybe lifting the left leg parallel-ish to the floor. Some of you will actually hold on to your left leg and see if you can straighten your left leg long. Now, whichever option you've taken, no judgment, does not matter, but I want your heart to come towards your knee. Yep. So see if you can sit really tall, heart coming towards the knee. Nice job. Awesome sauce. And then very gently, you'll bend that knee and release it back down. Barbara, sit on your block and it'll make it a lot easier. Awesome sauce. And then we'll go ahead and draw the left knee back and we'll try the right knee coming forward. So that block we want to have under the butt because it just creates stability. It makes life a lot easier for us. And then some of us hands will come to the front of the right shin. You're just going to pull your heart and sternum forward and stay right there. Some of you will hover that right leg off of the floor and stay right there. Some of you will slip your hand behind the back of the right leg and maybe lift the right shin parallel-ish to the floor. And some of you will actually hold on to that right foot and straighten the right leg long. Now, wherever you're choosing to work, we want to make sure that the back is staying strong and stable and coming forward. And if the leg is straight, great. If the leg is not, who cares? Like, does not matter. Yep. And then very gently, we'll go ahead and bend that knee, plant the foot on the floor, and then make your way to your butt however you need to. But however you need to. Last few shapes. I do encourage most of us to sit on a blanket. So at this point, sit on a blanket. Awesome. And so we're gonna just go into pavritta, janu, sirsana. We spent all this time opening up our side bodies and doing twists. Might as well do the pinnacle pose. So we're gonna see if we can draw our left foot, top of foot towards the floor. You might find that you like moving the flesh from the back of the left calf. It just feels a little bit better on my knee. And so you can choose to see if that feels good to you too. Check in with your right foot. All 5 toes are pulled up and back towards your right knee. Your right kneecap is pulling up towards your right hip. And then we're going to bring our hands back to our heart. Okay, so inhale, lengthen up, sternum into crown, or rather sternum into hands. And then exhale, take your gaze to your left shoulder. Find more length as you inhale. And then exhale, start to wrap your right ribs towards that left knee, your left ribs back. Awesome sauce. Release your left hand to the floor outside of your left hip, your right hand to the floor inside of your right knee. Again, inhale, lengthen up, and exhale, rotate a little bit more of the ribs towards your left knee. Now, inhale, sweep your back arm, your left arm up, and then exhale, little happy baby side bend towards the right. And inhale, come out of that. And you've got 4 of these. And so we want to come in and out of the shape in this dynamic movement because it helps us get deeper into the shape. It seems like it wouldn't because it's like, what are we doing? That's just so tiny. But it really does help. So we're just helping our bodies open up gradually by not being too concerned about what the outer shape looks like. Awesome sauce. So after you've done 4 to the right, at this point, you can deepen it as much as you'd like to. So for some of you, you might walk your right hand forward and away from you as you reach out through the left hand and maybe take a deeper side bend towards the right. You might stay exactly as you are, but we're paying attention now to what's happening on the left side body. Do you feel the ribs expanding? Do you feel that space between your intercostals expanding? And then let's see, some of us, let's push down into that right hand even more so the right armpit lifts up, and then wrap your right ribs under and your left ribs back. There you go, Jenny, so that you find even more of that rotation. Awesome sauce. Now to come out of this, listen very closely. Sweep your left arm back until it's parallel to the floor away from you. Reach out like somebody is pulling you up. Lower that hand to the floor and then slowly unwind your spine, come back to center and pause. What do you notice happening in the vertebra as we did that? Great. Okay, let's go ahead and try the other side. So draw both knees in, and then we'll go ahead and extend our left leg out. And again, you might want to remove any flesh from the back of the right calf so it feels a little bit better on your right knee. Top of the right foot close to the perineum. Both hands come to heart. Check in with that left leg, making sure left toes are pulling back towards your pelvis. Left knee is pulling up towards your pelvis as well. And then inhale, lengthen up. Exhale, turn your gaze over your right shoulder. Find inhalation and length, and then exhale, you'll draw your right ribs back, your left ribs forward, so you're rotating more towards the right. Find more length as you breathe in, and then exhale, release your right hand behind your right leg, your left hand to the inside edge of your right leg. Again, find length as you breathe in, and then exhale, maybe rotate the ribs a little bit more towards the right. Sweep your back arm, your right arm up as you breathe in. And then exhale, little baby side bend towards the left. And then inhale and come out of it. And exhale to the left. We've got 4 of these. And it doesn't have to be big to be impactful. Like even that come out doesn't have to be super big. It's just really tiny movement, helping the nervous system say, yeah, I got this. I think a lot of the things that we try to change in our life, if we can go slow and steady, it allows it to eventually become much more impactful because we're not jarring the system, we're not entering into a swing back. And then after you've done 4, you can go ahead and deepen it as you like. Some of you will walk that left hand further and away from you. You might reach out more, there you go, Barbara, through the right. And what you can do is if that left hand comes forward of the left leg and it's kind of more parallel to the right shin, you can push down, there you go, Barbara. You can push down into that left hand, lift up through the left inner armpit, finding length on that left side, wrapping the left ribs under, the right ribs up and on top, and you'll find that there's more rotation in the rib cage. Yeah. And then very gently to come out, you'll inhale, sweep the right arm back, parallel to the floor. Imagine you're being pulled up, bringing the spine back up to center. Lower the right hand to the floor, the left hand to the floor. Slowly unwind the spine. Come back to center and just notice what you notice. And then we're going to make our way onto our backs, and you're just going to pause and be still. I do want you to make sure this is an opportune time to cover up those bodies if you tend to get cold. So socks and sweaters are welcome. Having blankets somewhere nearby is also helpful. And when you make your way back onto your back, I want you to first be still and see what you notice. See what you notice. Lots of fidgeting going on. So we're not quite ready for Shavasana just yet, Barbara. Just see what you notice. Okay. From here, we'll gently draw one knee into the chest and the other knee into the chest, and see if you can just notice what you notice here. Some of you will choose to rock. Some of you will choose to be very still and just to see how the right side and the left side is feeling. Giving the body time to unwind typically helps if we just let ourselves be still for a bit. Some of you might then choose to stay here and rock. Some of you might choose to take Supta Baddha Konasana, bringing hands through the inside edges of the thighs, grabbing the outside edges of the feet, opening the knees out. You might choose to stay there. You might open up to Ananda Balasana, happy baby. And then after you've moved around, if you've moved around, go ahead and come to stillness and see if there's any final shape or shapes that feels really curious to you. And it's something that we're trying to notice. It doesn't have to be like an achievement pose, just something that helps us feel like we're more in acceptance, more in honoring where we are right here and now. So for some of us, it might be a figure 4. Some of us might be straight up ready to go to Shavasana. Some of us might want a little bit of a quad stretch, but you're choosing what feels best for you. And those of you who've done something asymmetrical, please visit the other side. And then when you feel complete, you'll make your way to your final resting pose. And I do encourage you to prop up in whatever way feels great to you. And when you find yourself in your final shape, I encourage you to take the opportunity to set yourself up well, where you really feel supported. I can't speak for any of you, but I do know that one of the things that I've been working to be more aware of is when I'm judging myself for things that I feel like I need. And so as you're in this shape, really allow yourself to give yourself whatever it is you feel like you need. It doesn't have to make sense to anybody. That includes yourself. But if it makes you feel better, sorry please go ahead and do that. And then once you feel like you're settled, I want you to just become aware of the sensations in the body. We spend a lot of time doing very tiny micro movements. And I want you to just notice the sensations as they rise and as they fall. And you'll continue to just be with you for the next few moments. And I'll let you know when it's time to come out. Gently return your awareness to your breath. As you come back to your breath, just take a moment to check in. If there's any part of you longing to linger in this shape, by all means, please hang out here. When you are ready to move on with your day, you'll invite small movement into your physical form in whatever way feels nurturing and nourishing to you. Those in stillness, stay as long as you'd like. Those in movement, start to make your way to your right side. We spend a lot of time working on the thoracic spine and the ribs. So when you're on your right side, just notice what it feels like today in this moment. And then you'll start to roll your chest more towards the floor, press into your top hand and draw yourself up to a tall, comfortable seat. And when you are vertical, I do encourage you to elevate your bum on a block or a blanket. For our final breathing today, it's going to be pretty simple. I want you to wrap your thumbs around your back body, your fingers around your front ribs. Yep. And you're just going to sit as tall as you can. And I want you to see if you can breathe into your thumbs, breathing into the back body. And we're still imagining that we've got that hand on our heart, so we're lifting up through the front body as you're breathing into the back body. And your gaze can be inward, the eyes can be closed. And then we'll start to slide our hands up. So now our thumbs are a little higher on the back body. Maybe our hands are more towards the middle ribs. Fingers are more towards the middle ribs. And you'll take about 3 more breaths here. And again, you're just trying to breathe into the back body, back into the thumbs. And then for this last one, you might bring the hands, so the thumbs are now underneath the armpits. The fingers might be on the tops of the chest, tops of the ribs. And again, you're just trying to breathe into the thumbs. And after you've taken 3 or 4 breaths like that, you'll just lower your hands, sit as tall as you can, and see if you can breathe into all those places that were touched by your thumbs. It's very interesting. Our lungs anatomically lift more in the back body than they do in the front body. I think that's something that most of you are aware of at this point. But I think that it's a good reminder of how the things that we don't see all the time, the things that are a little more in the background, can really play a big role in how our lives unfold. And I think that how we are with ourselves, how kind we are to ourselves, how accepting and loving and nurturing we are to ourselves as we go through the small little changes that we make, has the potential to make a big impact in how we receive others and how it feels like others show up for us. So as you take these last 3 to 5 breaths here, I want you to just notice how you are right now. And to the best of your ability, say right on, or celebrate yourself however you can. We'll go ahead and complete this practice with a collective breath followed by a collective Om. Bring our hands to heart center, Anjali Mudra. Press the palms into each other. Receive the weight of the thumbs into your sternum and lift your sternum up. Soften your chin down just a smidge towards the throat, and then exhale all the breath up from your mouth. Take a big breath in. Audible breath out. Inhale for Om. Join if you'd like. Om. To that light, to that breath, and to that acceptance, we bow. Namaste.